Hello, my name's Tony Cardenas, and this is the Indy Real Estate Market Weekly Podcast. Today, I'm sitting here with Shelly Walters with FC.Tucker, Carmel, Indiana. Kyle Morris, FC.Tucker, Carmel, Indiana. Looks a little angry today. And Justin Griffith with Keller Williams, Indy Northeast, with us today. And we're going to be talking about lakefront properties here in our market. And we're not going to be doing the traffic report. We're going to wait a week. We got Memorial Day coming up. It's going to be kind of a slow week this week in the real estate market.
But it's lake season.
Somebody's going to buy a home. But what I'd like to do first is we want to talk about how some of the agents are working with other agents on offers. And I'm going to let Shelly kick this off because I think there's something to be said here to help other agents, and other agents may be having some of these issues. Good morning, Shelly. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Tony.
Shelly, we were talking right before the show. Let's talk about some common courtesy things to do as a professional real estate agent that you think, or we all think, that should flow in a real estate deal. Can you kind of kick that off for us today?
What we're just talking about is the communication between agents involved in the deal is the number one aspect of a deal. It's going to be the one that's going to make it or break it, right? You guys, I mean, if you don't have good communication, it's going to be an issue. But it starts with these showings. There's been a real big issue with a lot of agents talking about this with the lack of feedback. It's like if you're going to take the opportunity to go and see one of the listings that are out there, you've got a seller who's really invested in selling their home, and they want to know when you come and show it with your buyer, what did you think? Especially in today's world, if we're on the market for 20, 30, 40 days and we think everything's okay and then we don't get feedback, I mean, we really are
zero.
I mean,
it's insane.
It's just not.
Wait a minute. Define zero.
Zero. Like when you have 7 showings and not one agent will leave feedback.
They don't fill out the app.
Like
or
not
anything.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it hurts everybody, doesn't it?
Absolutely. But if you have a listing that you're trying to sell and it's anything you can do to sell it, it's like you need the feedback and then you can take that to the seller. You can make the changes. It's when you're not getting that, it's hard to proceed.
Well, the thing about it is you get an automatic email into your inbox. It's not that difficult.
Takes 1 second.
And we have an app.
Right.
You do it through the app.
So it's just, there is a reason. And I mean, if you're going to take the opportunity to show a listing, that is still part of the process. You showed the house. Now provide feedback. You know, sometimes people put feedback. I have my questionnaire of what, the questions I have, and they'll just put no, and then that's the end of it. Like, are they interested in the property, making an offer?
Yeah.
No.
I just got that this weekend, actually. I mean, this has been an ongoing problem for a couple of years now. It's just gotten worse and worse and worse. My mindset has always been like, if you don't leave feedback, you don't list enough houses, quite honestly, to know what it's like on the other end. And that's a reality. I'm like not trying to knock anybody, but there's a mindset behind it. Sometimes it's laziness. Sometimes it's lack of professionalism. But I've also heard other agents make the comment of like, why would I leave feedback? That hurts my buyer's negotiating ability. And I've never experienced that where I gave feedback and I didn't have a problem negotiating whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm like, hey, we're head over heels in love and like,
right.
And then hit them for like 10 under and then we end up at like 3 under because like I left too much feedback. Or if my client doesn't have some feedback, which has happened for the record, I leave my own personal feedback as a professional agent about the property because I know what it's like to list a house because we list a bunch of houses. And like you got to give somebody something so they can have those conversations with their sellers. But the idea that, the feedback is you didn't get an offer, like to me, that's the same idea of like being a doctor and not putting in like clinical notes after a surgery or something like that. It's professionalism.
Well, and the other thing too, like you said, if you don't get it from the buyer, I include my feedback because I feel we are the professionals. We're the ones walking into these houses every day, and we're the ones that know what will or won't work for a potential buyer. If my buyer is too timid to say anything negative, that doesn't mean I didn't have any idea.
Oh, yeah.
So if I have ideas and what I think they could do better, and I know some people are like, I don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, say it nicely. But still, if there's cat pee issues, state it.
Or price. I mean,
right,
if someone says the price, it's like, hey, let me reach out to these people. Your seller might say, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and drop it, or reach out to them and see if we can put something together. It's like, that's why feedback is so important.
Or when we look at flips, I'm like, finish work matters. I'm right, like, you know, like really good house, finish work is horrible. Like, let's clean it up a little bit because it presents pretty poorly. I think you could get this price, but clean up the finish work or whatever it may be. But So I can't even tell you how many times my feedback is just good house, just not the one. Like that is sufficient.
And that's perfect.
Oh my goodness.
And that's perfect as well, because if you've had 6 people come through and say that they knew it was a great house, it wasn't looking right for them at that point. You had 6 showings and you're wondering, well, nobody likes a house. No, 6 people needed
something
a bigger
slightly
family
different.
room.
Yeah.
Your house couldn't make that happen, but it's perfect. The other thing you were talking about in regards to having the feedback in regards to what we say on price, I like it. You know, I always say we've probably had these conversations with our seller. We need backup.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when we've had conversations with this seller 5 times that the cat pee is going to be a problem and they go, oh, nobody will care, they can rip out the carpet. When 5 people come in with feedback, they finally listen to what we said, because sometimes we know our issues going in and we've tried to convey that, but we need backup from our co-workers
Absolutely.
to help us with that.
But
And price is one. Is if you say we have seen 10 houses in the past week all at 300 and you're 325,
And they don't. It doesn't show the same,
Yeah.
right?
that's
But
help.
part of that is the problem that we've been running into of like this professionalism that we're struggling with, is we've created that problem. And it's like, well, you need to learn to have that conversation with your sellers. Well, I do, but sadly, the broad perception of my industry is I'm just trying to drop the price to sell it, because it's that's all I'm concerned about.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is something we have created due to these little things that just add up into this like somewhat stigma of our professionalism, right? Of what we do.
The other thing too is I've heard is if they say, you know, I don't need to leave feedback. One I've heard is, if you don't know how to sell your listing, I'm not going to help. And I think that's just the rudest comment, because we are here to work together. But I have heard that many times of why they do not leave feedback is because it's your listing. You should know what to do. It's like, yes.
Unprofessionalism.
Well, why don't we want to help each other?
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, when I put a listing up, I think I've covered all the bases. But
Yeah.
when it goes out on the market and for 10, 15, 20 days, we've had showings and still nothing's happening.
Well, here's my opinion.
Would be nice.
Here's my opinion, being an outsider, not being a realtor. I think when you don't help people and you don't follow up and you don't give feedback, I think these are habits of somebody that doesn't either A, sell a lot of real estate, or they have bad habits.
Both, a little bit both.
Both.
Yeah.
A little bit of both.
Training.
Training, whoever their broker is, or they're not following through. It's not a good agency. I believe that. So at the end of the day, every one of you guys do it. And I know most agents do it that are really professional, staying in the game. But when people don't do this, let me tell you something. Look at the results that they're getting.
I would say most of the top 15% of the production does. I wouldn't say all of it, though. I would definitely experience that. But I would say, yeah, a lot of the higher producing agents are pretty consistent about it. Not only that, like they even make phone calls, you know, like so much of goes into this with relationships, and you just never know when you're on the other end of this deal trying to get something done for your clients. And then at what point did you do a disservice and didn't hold a fiduciary duty to your next client because you left a bad situation with the client on a previous listing with a previous client? Like, it all matters, whether you like it or not. And we want to pretend it doesn't. It 100% matters.
Okay. Well, you're right. And I think there's a good tone here. And I'm glad Shelly brought it up. I thought it was going to get a little negative, but it really got positive here. Because if this lands on one agent or one broker's ears, you know, they might say, you know,
It'll help change it.
Yeah, let's help change us.
One at a time, right?
Yeah.
Right. And if an agent out here wants to talk about it, get a hold of Shelly or one of you guys on here, and let's get them on the podcast and let's talk about it, because maybe we could help somebody else. But now let's talk about this week in the traffic this week. What's going on this week in the traffic world for buyers and sellers, you guys?
So if you're a buyer, I think it's a good opportunity to get out, just because I don't think there's going to be a lot of people out. I don't think there's going to be many fresh listings. So if like you're a little bit cash strapped or you need a little bit of assistance, I actually think it's a really good weekend to be a buyer. I know for us personally, like, you know, we have quite a few listings coming up, and all of them we planned around listing on June 1st, not on this weekend.
And I think next week is going to be a huge
I do
hit,
too.
because
I do
we
too.
have 4 going up next week that
so do
we've
we.
pushed. So I think that'll be
Even
good
then,
or
we had to
bad.
push one to the 8th because we had so much going on the market. Next week, we're like, I just can't get it all done.
And as a listing agent, you don't want to have to deal with 4 or 5 at the same time because you're not going to be able to give as much or as much time as you should probably. But yeah, this week should be kind of slow. But if you're a buyer, you have less competition. But yeah, next week we might see a huge institute of what's the word?
Influx of
Influx. Thank you.
listings. Yeah.
Good buying day would be like next Tuesday because it all.
You know, it's funny you
weekend.
guys are talking about that because I just talked to an agent down in Lakewood Ranch, Florida, Sarasota area, and I talked to one in Naples. Okay, Naples is a little bit different. The traffic's not bad, but in Lakewood Ranch, they haven't had a slow time. And right now they're having a slow time. This agent says, I'm not seeing a lot move. And they don't have the Indy 500 down there. She says, I said, what's your biggest enemy? She goes, the people that aren't paying cash. She goes, the interest rates are up. The people have got concern. What people have to do is maybe get a little creative on their interest rates. Maybe do an ARM where it saves you a quarter or maybe possibly up to a half a point. That can give you a lot of buying power when you're making an offer on a house. Shift your deal because even if you get a 30-year fix today, in 3 to 5 years, you're going to refinance it anyway. So what's the difference if you get a 3-year ARM, 5-year ARM, or a 10-year ARM? It can really help you guys help the client buy the home, help them sell the home.
Well, I mean, that speaks to like how individualized markets are because, I mean, it's about to be the off season down in Florida, actually, right?
Yeah.
Like they sell more in the winter, but here specifically, we do have the Indy 500, right? And then people who aren't engaged in that, it's also like graduation party weekend and all this other stuff. Like it is a slammed weekend here
and
locally.
Speaking of lake season, this is a big lake weekend.
Yeah.
People,
Huge lake
take
weekend.
off for their lake houses or whatever, have a bunch of parties. So it's just really not the time to find a lot of people wanting to buy or sell.
So let's
segue into that. So we just got a house, a condo that is on Morris, right? Is the lake that I did, and I was like, we have got to get this under contract before this next weekend because there's going to be so many people on the lake. It won't like it had been sitting for a little bit.
Let's start off with your inventory on the lake. So we're going to be talking. What lake is this?
This is Morris Reservoir.
And where's that?
Noblesville, Hamilton County, Cicero, up there. So I love that lake. So between the lake, it's like Sweetwater. I don't know the exact size of Sweetwater.
But let's talk about the inventory on your side of the fence.
Yeah, well,
but
I kind of want to go the lakes itself. So Morris is a little bit smaller than Geist. Actually, it's a little bit more centrally located, but it's also a different culture. I think a little bit, right? So like all those things matter as we're talking about.
Water's
lakes.
Cleaner.
Like it's not just about when you're buying a house on the lake. That's one of the things we got.
The water's cleaner.
Well, the depth and like when you get up into the northern part of Cicero, like above that causeway, like when it's really dry out in some of the summers, like you can't get certain boats up there. Like all of this stuff comes into play when you're talking about lakefront properties, seawalls. Like what do they cost? Does it have a dock? What does that cost? Do you need a lift? All that stuff. But
well, I'm going to say something real quick, and that's why you need an agent who understands lakefront properties.
Oh God, yeah.
Selling lakefront properties is a totally different beast, and if you don't have somebody who understands everything about that aspect, you're going to probably have issues about 6 months down the road. You're going to go, oh, nobody told me that.
Yeah. I mean,
You're right.
Morris Reservoir.
Any better.
I did the last 30 days. So there is currently 3 on the market. All I did was waterfront. I did not do like adjacent.
What do we got?
Waterfront. I have 3 active. One of those is a condo. Okay.
What's the price range?
Anywhere from 1.4 to 1.9. Actually,
condo?
No. The condo was like 289. I apologize when I was writing that down. Yeah. So and then pending, I have 4 that are pending. All 4 are condos. It was one of the ones that we got, and then the other ones are on Watershed or whatever over on the other part of the lake. They were all anywhere between $297 and $430 for the condos. Now those condo fees though are $300 a month, $400 a month. I know in the one that we got. So and then that have sold. 2 have sold, and one of those was a condo.
How? Let me ask you the question on these lakefront properties. If you put a lakefront property out there today, let's say next week, not this weekend, let's say the following week, and it's at, I don't know, 800, 1.4 million. How quick do lakefront properties sell right now?
I don't even know if most of them even hit the market.
Well, and I would say in Morris, that's very, I mean, if you're thinking of selling your house on Morris, do it.
Yeah.
Interest rates aren't going to matter. Nothing's going to matter.
People will just want the lake.
Yeah, because there's just none.
Yeah, it's a
hitting the
different
market.
buyer.
We listed one last year on the lake, and it had like 210 feet of frontage, which is a ton, right? And it was in the no wake zone, and it was an older house that was dated, and it needed a remodel. And I mean, you got to think, I had people come in and offer me 7 to demo it just for the land because I had so much lake frontage.
Gotcha.
Right. So like
I
that's
remember
the
that
kind
property.
of thing you're dealing
Great
with.
lakefront. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you can. Here's what I always say with lakefront property: you can change the house, you cannot change the waterfront.
Yeah.
So is that everything that you have on your side of the world?
It is. I did like a comparison of last year to this year of actually like Fishers and Noblesville. If we want to get into that, doesn't really matter. I know we were talking more about.
Go ahead and knock it out real quick.
So I just did May 1st to today,
Okay, good.
May 23rd.
Thank you.
So in Fishers last year we had 122 that sold in that time frame.
Okay.
And this year we've had 80.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big
and
difference.
then in Noblesville last year we had 98 sell from May 1st to May 23rd, and this year we've had 69
Gotcha.
sell. Like that's just actually closed in that time frame. So now don't get me wrong, we got Mother's Day, we got Easter, or not Easter, but you got Mother's Day, all that stuff in there.
Gotcha.
But still, same thing. I feel like it's crazier than last year, quite honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's move over to Shelly.
Okay.
What do you got there, Shelly, when it comes to waterfront properties,
Sweetwater
please?
and Cordery down in Brown County.
And you have a lot of experience down there. You used to own a home
Yep,
or
we had
two.
a home there for 16 years.
Yep.
And great area. Sweetwater and Cordery are sister lakes. They're
Now, how
not
far
connected.
south is that from Indianapolis, please?
It's a good hour drive,
That's nice.
so it's really close. Everybody likes to be within an hour and a half for a drive if they have a second home. So Sweetwater and Cordery, about 50% are second homes, and they are private lakes, and so both of them you cannot do rentals. You have rules,
nice.
lots of rules, which rules and regulations on a lake is really good. No sea-doos, so you can do when you're in there and you have a house there, you can just know that it is just private, and that's what's really good. They have their own conservancy. So just kind of looking just to kind of give a background on Sweetwater and Cordery, that was one of my secondary market, and it was just like 45 homes would be listed at any given time. 40 to 45 homes on both lakes at any given time. Currently today on Sweetwater and Cordery, there's a total of 8 on Sweetwater and 6 on Cordery. Yeah. So inventory is extremely low.
What's the average prices on those homes over there?
So, and I've done that. So I'll answer all of these questions all at once. So with the current active on Sweetwater, they're anywhere from 449 to 2.3. I can guarantee you the 449 is way back in the cove.
The 2.3 I looked at, it's amazing.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, but 449 seems like a pretty good little deal as long as I get on the water and get out there.
Again, we always talk about you can change the house, not the waterfront, but most people are trying to purchase waterfront. Yeah. Then you have to decide if you're in the right price point. 2015 or so, these houses were half price.
Yep.
So 2020 really made a difference at Sweetwater and Cordery. So in 2020, everybody needed staycation. They knew they couldn't travel, wouldn't do anything. The prices skyrocketed at Sweetwater and Cordery after that. They are starting to come down a little bit. But the other thing that happened last year that caused a lot of problems is when the mortgages started that point that they were charging for second homes, and people were having another, $10,000 to $15,000, $20,000 added to the price of the home. That was hurting as well. This year, interest rates, plus being a second home, these interest rates are super high, and the prices are much, much higher. So again, like I said, used to be 40 to 50 homes on the market at any given time. Both lakes right now, 14. And then since January 1st, 4 have pended on, are currently pending on Sweetwater, and 2 on Cordery, with a total of 7 sold on Sweetwater and 4 on Cordery. This is so slow. It's just really slow there. So like I said, Morse, Sweetwater, Cordery, and I'm sure you're going to say with Geist, people just are not listing their homes.
Right.
This is just something everybody enjoys to have right now, and it's just very competitive. So if I go back down to just looking at 2022, there were 18 homes sold in 2021, 17 homes sold in 2020, 31 homes sold. And then in 2019, I'll start with the price averages. So in 2019, the average price sold houses was $462. 2020, it went to $593. 21, it went to $634. Wow. 2022, it went to $716. So the average price on Sweetwater and Cordery has gone up $300,000 in 3 years.
Wow. I was looking at one on that lake. So like up here in Carmel, it's like, let's say you got a beautiful home, you're getting like $350 a square foot, right? Like, which is amazing up here. And I was looking at one this weekend down there on Sweetwater because my buddy was down, my team member was down there, and there's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, like 870 square foot for like $799. I mean, it's almost 1,000 square foot.
Right. And that's another other thing. When people are saying they want to list their home and they want to look at price per square foot, my price per square foot in the back of the cove is going to be totally different than
on the main body. Yeah.
So water frontage is what drives the price, not
view,
your square foot. And then the other thing at Sweetwater and Cordery, all the properties are on septic. So you have to understand, if you're looking at properties in Sweetwater and Cordery, like you said, it says 2 bedrooms. You know, a lot of people are saying, well, I asked you to search for, I need at least a 3 or a 4 bedroom. We call them sleeping rooms. So if you're having a home that you're looking through the pictures and you see a bed in a room, there's where you're going to sleep. And many times it's, you know, if you have a lake home, people are on air mattresses, people come over. So never look at the number of bedrooms at Sweetwater and Cordery due to the septic, because they are going to be what they were built as, listed that way. You cannot list it as a 3 or a 4 bedroom if it is not built as a 3 or a 4 bedroom.
But that doesn't mean there's not extra space for those functions.
And the pictures will show you that. So that is one thing that's frustrating for people looking down there. They're like, well, they don't have any bedrooms. I mean, everybody's a 1 or a 2 bedroom. Like, no, you can sleep back in that closet over there. It's pretty big.
Yeah. But that's why it matters. Like, I mean, we haven't ever discussed this, but, you know, it's just kind of neat since it's Memorial Day weekend that we tackled this.
Well, knowing the lakes, like I said, is understanding. I do know that down there people say when they want to purchase property, it's like it's a 2 bedroom. Okay, great. I'm just going to add a bedroom. At Sweetwater, you cannot do that. You absolutely cannot do that. That's where I say in 6 months you get a real big surprise when you go and ask for that permit, and then they say you can't do that. Well, that's why I bought the house. So different things like that. Real quick, I'll tell a story. There was a lake in Indiana that I wanted to purchase on way back before we bought on Sweetwater. And now I'm blanking on the name of it. But anyway, it had, you know, beautiful views of the lake. And I just happened to say, is the lake level, did they change? And people ask that at Sweetwater and Cordery. They don't change there because it's spring fed. And I will really quickly say Sweetwater and Cordery are the 2 cleanest lakes in Indiana. And that's through DNR. Yep. But this lake, and she goes, oh no, we drain the lake after Labor Day and then we refill it up somewhere in June. And I said, so I'm going to sit in this house and see mud for 6 to 8 months?
That's what happened to Geis back in like
well, they purposely do this every year. Oh, I'm just dying that I can't think of it. Raccoon?
I don't know.
So
out west, yeah. That's a pretty lake though.
But you know, what if I didn't ask that question? It wasn't offered to me.
Yeah.
Could you imagine showing up and where'd the water go?
Having a big party.
Having an agent know what you're
so much for ice skating, right?
Yeah, I know. So anyway, that's my story on Sweetwater.
Okay, so there's Sweetwater. Justin, let's move over to you. What do we got?
I did Geis this week. So right now,
Geis what?
Geis Reservoir.
Thank you.
Currently, we have 12 on the market, priced anywhere from $975 to $3.5 million. Looking at the pendings right now, there is 10 pending on the market for Geis. Okay. Of those 10, 7 of those were listed just in the last week, and all pending.
What's the highest one?
The highest one pending right now is 2.389, and that was listed for 11 days. So depending on how your house is right now, it can still move. These big prices do move, but there is still some on the market.
Right.
So I did for the last 6 months. Right now, we've had 13 closings, priced anywhere from $312,000, that's a condo, up to $2.25 million. Last year at this same time, for the same 180-day span, we had 19 closings, priced anywhere from $410,000 to $2.89 million.
Wow. So the
prices are actually down on the high end. Yeah.
There's just a lot going on over there too, though. So they just put in a beautiful new park over there, Geis Waterfront Park. It's right over by I live really close to it, so I go across either causeway every single day. I love it. I mean, I love living over there. I feel like one of my best friends lives up on Morris. That's where my wife grew up. I'd love to move up there. Sweetwater, I've heard, is the best, quite honestly, but it's also the drive.
I've heard a lot about Sweetwater.
Well, the thing
about Shelly, but a lot with Shelly. She's really taught me a lot about that market.
It's beautiful down
there.
But
I hear
it's beautiful because you're in Brown County and you can go to Nashville. So it's kind of like being
like on vacation.
Yeah, you're in a different location.
But that's the difference, though. So Morris and Geist tends to be a primary residence.
Yes.
Right. And Sweetwater Cordery tends to be in Princess, right?
I wonder how many people do have part-time home. Well, I mean, they may go to Florida or something like that, but like literally is their lakefront property? I don't know.
Morris or Geist? Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably not a lot unless, like, I mean,
Shoreline, like you get those condos.
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of people do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's condos on both of those. I mean, there's not any on Sweetwater, I don't believe.
No,
right?
no, they've tried, but
Yeah,
no,
Geist and
that's not
Morris
gonna
definitely
happen.
have condos that are really, really nice. So
I feel like a lot of times too, like my clients that have sold lakefront properties end up going to those condos. It's like, hey, we want to still have
Less
the
maintenance.
boat, but we just don't want to have all this stuff to deal with. So
Yeah.
yep. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you start getting into like a seawall needs repaired, a dock needs repaired.
Oh,
Like,
it's constant.
It's different maintenance.
It's
you know,
constant.
it
In
just is.
Sweetwater, I was like, they're talking about maintenance, as you live in the woods. I mean, just living in the woods makes your house have to have a lot of work all the time. You're talking about that park in Fishers on guys, man, they are getting a
They're
lot
getting
of
hammered
flack
it.
on that.
Yeah, because if you're a resident, it's free, and if not, it's $50.
$50, yeah.
Unless
It's really
you walk
pretty.
in.
There's like a pirate ship there. There's a beach. Like it's really pretty. So
Well, what I'd like to do is kind of jump in here and give a little recap. The show's at 25 minutes. I'd like to give a little recap on the interest rates, 30-year fixed. Today is right at, believe it or not, you're hitting 6.999, and you better have super good credit. All right, and then
Let me ask you a question. So you said 6.999, and I don't have super good credit. What does that do to me?
that means your rate. Well,
Let me say I'm a 680 or 7.
680 or 7, you're going to be in a category of probably right around us 7.25%, 7.125.
Yeah.
It's going to climb on you. Okay. And we're talking about a 30-day lock right now. We're talking about a 30-year fix conforming. Okay. Right now, I'm assuming 20% down. I'm just doing
Right.
it that way.
Right.
680 credit score. There are some others out there that are available, but it all depends on what you're borrowing. Do you want a conventional? Do you want a FHA where you're only putting 3.5% down? They're all different opportunities. But what the average is right now, okay, you're going to be at 6.999 to 7.25%. With the fluctuation of credit score right now, and that's through Simple Mortgage 123, and NMLS number to be at the bottom of the at the end of the show. But the bottom line is, you got that. You got the 15-year fixed, okay, which I can't believe I can say this, but the 15-year fixed, I'm going to shoot it at 6.5% to 6.625.
Dang.
It's crazy. And then you got the 10-year, which a year and a half ago I actually saw it at 2.125. Okay. The 10-year today is, man, at a discount with extra good credit, you're at 6.25% to 6.375. So the market is way up. The market is trending up on the interest rates. I can understand some of the traffic out here, but the bottom line, if somebody wants to get a little creative, what they need to ask the agent is, hey, I want to really buy this house, but how can I save a little money in the beginning? You know what? Maybe go to a 5-year ARM, okay, and get in at 6.250 and pay a point and a half. At least you're there on a conventional mortgage, and later on you can get out of it. But I do believe in 24 to 30 months, not 36. I think whoever takes a 30-year fix today, you're going to see a refinance boom. Okay, and some people will refinance anywhere from 1, 2 to 3 times, because if you're a smart refinance, you reduce your payment on a 30-year fixed, and then the next one, round 2, is you go from let's say you got 28 years left, 27, 26 years left, go right to a 20 or go to a 15. Reduce your payment and take the lower interest rates. And that's what's going to happen in the future. The Wall Street Journal's even starting to talk about it a little bit. But the bottom line is, I don't see a rate decrease coming down anytime soon. I think they're going to be here for the summer.
I think that's what's causing some buyer fatigue right now.
Absolutely,
because
Shelly. You couldn't have said it any
everybody's
better.
Just getting really okay.
Yeah.
They aren't looking good. They keep going up. I'm staying here.
Mm-hmm.
And
What are the rates?
That is an issue.
I didn't mean to talk over you.
No.
What is the FHA currently?
I already shut them down. I'd have to log back in. But we'll do that next week. This show is brought to you by Executive Portfolio Magazine in the greater Indianapolis area. If you want to look at some luxury homes, it's a great magazine to look at. Okay. Hey, if we wanted to get a hold of you, Kyle, how can somebody contact you?
it's Morris Property Group with FC.Tucker and Carmel, 317-649-5122.
Justin Griffith.
317-507-5599, and Fishers.real estate is the website.
And what brand do you work for?
Keller Williams, Indy Metro Northeast.
Oh, Indy
all
Metro
the words.
Northeast.
All
Okay.
the words.
And Shelly, if someone wanted to get a hold of you to buy a home here in Carmel, Indiana, because I know these guys don't sell homes in Carmel. Have you guys ever sold a home in Carmel? Anyway, Shelly, if somebody wanted to buy a home here in our area,
You can buy or sell with us. Anyway,
That's right.
my phone number is 317-201-2601. Shelly Walters, Realty Group with FC.Tucker.
Okay, everybody, thank you. And thank you to our editor, Raquel, because she's going to clean this show up today. Thank you, Raquel.
Yay, Keller.
Yay, thank you.
Say something, Raquel. Say thank you.
They can't hear me.
Yeah, they can now. All right, bye. All right,
Here,
everybody.
Raquel, come here.
Yeah, come over here.
Everybody
Right here,
Behind
come
the
here.
scenes.
No, over here, Raquel.
Where?
Yeah.
No,
Over
I
here,
can't
over
see
here.
this.
Raquel is the one that bails me out every week. Raquel, thank you.
Hi,
everything.
everybody.
All right,
That's
thank you.
Raquel.
All right, thank you, everybody. We'll talk to you next week, and we want this show to be fun. Please reach out to us if you want to get on the show and talk about some realtor habits that could help people. Bottom line.
Or
if
even
you have
vendors.
questions or-
Like vendors, we would love to have some vendors on here that want to talk about what they see in this market, because everybody's being affected by this market in every way, not
Okay.
just real estate agents.
And guess what? We'll see you next week and talk to you next week.